On this edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast, we throw a curveball and give you an extra episode this week to dive into stadium talk in Calgary and Edmonton. Welcome to a special edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. While we all look outside and wonder why we live in a place that makes our faces hurt, there's been a ton of baseball talk over the last couple of weeks we just couldn't ignore. So instead of making you wait to hear about it, we thought we'd deliver something off schedule for you. Stadiums have been the talk of the town in the province's two major cities of late. We'll get to the Calgary story in a second, but first we'll start in the capital, where on Thursday, Edmonton Prospects owner Pat Cassidy held a news conference to go over a plan they're pitching to the city. In exchange for a 25-year lease, they will invest somewhere in the ballpark of $2.75 to $3.25 million in upgrades. I had the chance to chat with Cassidy to talk us through the rationale behind the deal and what it could mean for baseball fans in Edmonton. Walk us through what exactly it is that you are proposing to the city of Edmonton.
Well, we've got, as you know, we've been sort of the prime tenant at ReMax Field, and before ReMax Field, it was called TELUS Field. We've been the prime tenant there for a number of years now, 6 or 7 years. It's starting to get to that point where I'm losing track of exactly how many. As we've utilized the facility and got a little more intimately knowledgeable about the facility, we've learned more about it. And, we've come to realize that, it's 24 years old now. It's it's still a great facility. Structurally, the foundation, a lot of really great things about it. But there's some things that, are outdated, or some things we can do to improve our fan experience that we need to do. And it's time to do that. And they're the kind of things that you're not going to, make that kind of investment in unless you've got more than a year left on your lease. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We'd like to do a lot of these upgrades and this kind of stuff, but we're not going to do it, for a 1 year lease. It doesn't make sense. You need many years to amortize a $3 million expenditure. That's kind of what we've pegged these upgrades to cost. Mm-hmm. And so, rather than sitting back and waiting and letting the city dictate and determine our future, we thought, that's not kind of the way we roll. We'd rather be a little more proactive and see if we can't, be a solution provider, mm-hmm. rather than somebody just waiting for somebody to determine our future and determine the solutions. Let's see if we can't drive this truck and take the ballpark and the team down this road where we see this terrific vision for the future. And so we've done that. We've identified the upgrades we're interested in doing, and we've put that to the city, and we've said to them in a press release the other day that in exchange we'd like some long-term future in this city. We want to be a part of the sports landscape here for a long time. So, hopefully you see this as a positive thing, and we can work together.
Mm-hmm. 25 years is no short-term solution, but at the same time, it gives not only, I think, you guys some solidarity there, but it also, I think, gives the city some solidarity in knowing that you guys are committed to the capital region for the very long term.
Yeah, and it's a commitment to the sport of baseball in this region, and I see it as a commitment to baseball across, definitely Alberta and Saskatchewan, Western Canada for that matter. I think what a lot of people don't realize, maybe especially in the big city here, is the Western Canadian Baseball League is a terrific vehicle for aspiring baseball players. Mm-hmm. When you come to Edmonton, for instance, on Canada Day, and you're a local kid and you're on our team and you're playing in front of 7,000 fans, if that doesn't give you a jolt, nothing will. And the more important thing is in the stands watching that game are, hundreds of kids that are in programs, Samba and in
Mm-hmm.
Sherwood Park's program and in SEBA and just a lot of local baseball grassroots programs, they're seeing kids on the field playing in front of all these fans that are kids that came from the programs they're in. And so, I grew up playing baseball, and the thing that gave me a great jolt was playing in these country tournaments where you were in front of 400, 500, 600 people, and I was a
Mm-hmm.
catcher, so I used to get heckled by all the old farmers. I got a real kick out of that. And it just made me realize that, yeah, baseball is a lot of fun, but it's just a heck of a lot more fun and inspiring to play in front of large crowds. You spend so much time at practices, so much time, training yourself and your craft. And, at the end of the day, baseball is an entertainment business, and you're part of that entertainment as a player. So it's, to me, it's the Western Canadian Baseball League represents so much more in terms of grassroots development in Alberta and Saskatchewan, Western Canada, and Canada for that matter. And it's a kind of league that needs support from wherever it can find it. And it's, Edmonton being the center that it is, the media center of the league, we see ourselves as an extremely important cog in what's going on here.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, too, that you mentioned the experience right off the bat. And the fan experience is something that is being talked about in all different circles, whether it's hockey with what's going on with Vegas and Nashville, and you look at baseball and the challenges it's faced in recent years in trying to attract younger talent younger fans. This is a bit of a thing that you guys are able to look at and go, hey, you know what, you make the experience a little better especially for the families, and you know what, it's going to pay dividends in the end.
Yes, absolutely. It's a competitive business. We're after the entertainment dollar of the Edmonton customer, and those customers are looking to be entertained. They're going to go to the movies. They're going to go do some other sports things, and so we want to make sure if we can get them to the ballpark. That's sort of part one of the challenge. Get them to the ballpark. You want to make sure once you get them there, they've had an incredible experience, and they go, wow, I didn't realize this could be so much fun. And you know what, I'm going to come back, maybe come back a few times this year, and I'll drag a few more people with me. And so, some of those fan experience things that we're talking about, include, we need an upgrade to our digital board. It's an old board that's there, and you can barely read it. And, and it's just time to make some changes on that front. We see something like that as a, great opportunity to interact with the fan base, to get our message out in a better way, and just create more fun and excitement at the ballpark. So we see that as an important thing. We want to do a kids zone. You come to the ballpark, you got some younger kids, they get a little antsy, after a few innings. It's a long game for them. Mm-hmm. And so, it's a great, these kids play zones are more and more common. I think, any sort of modern ballpark would have them in there. And it's just another way of interacting with the fan base and giving them what they want, and in hopes that they tell their friends again, and they keep coming back. And I guess the other item that's on our list is we want to maybe make some changes down the first base side to the patio area, maybe modernize that and do some cool things down there with the seating and the concession, and that's the type of thing that more and more stadiums and ballparks are doing nowadays, is working on that element of the product they offer the corporate, more so the corporate people than anything. Mm-hmm. Gives you a chance to really connect and interact with the businesses in your community. Yeah, and then of course, outside of improving the fan experience, we've got some things that are just more. It's we got a turf that's sort of run its course. We need to do something with that. We've got some egress issues in terms of dealing with larger concerts, and just some sort of standard kind of construction type things that are kind of boring, but still need to be done.
Yeah, it's one of those things, too, that I look at Lethbridge, for example, and they went through a massive upgrade in the last couple of years as well. Does that give you maybe a glimmer of hope, maybe that you're not asking for a whole lot at the end of the day, much the same as what Lethbridge asked for, and they made major renos, especially to the outer core of that building. So you've got to look at it and go, hey, whether it's aesthetics or whether it's field or whether it's in the stands, this is a pretty small dollar figure comparatively speaking.
Well, the other thing about it isn't in the grand scheme of things, and if you amortize it over 20, 25 years, it's there's going to be some things we're doing. For instance, replacing the current lights, which are 1995 vintage, with new LED lights, and a few other mechanical changes. They're the type of things that are going to save us about $100,000 a year in operational costs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost, some of the stuff's almost like a no-brainer. But the point with the money is we're coming to the city and we're saying, look, you give us a 25-year lease and we'll fund it. We're not asking the city to fund it. We're saying we'll fund it.
Mm-hmm. You alluded to it as well, was the bringing the players up, the local players up, and I know a lot of it was made over the last year about Eric Sabrowski as an example, but you alluded to Samba and some of this, is as you see the local game at the minor, smaller levels improve, this seems to be also, when you talk about a 25-year lease, a no-brainer in the sense of, hey, the game is improving at the grassroots and is getting bigger at the grassroots, especially given, the popularity of hockey is really struggling, for example, because of the cost, or football with concussions. So people are looking for other options. This seems to be a deal that makes sense because now you've got that ability to not only raise some really good ball players at the grassroots, but also get them back home for college and show off their skill set here.
No, that's exactly one of the points we're trying to make, and we keep trying to hammer home is and that's why the Western Canadian Baseball League is so critically important to the development of baseball. I mean, we keep hearing from people that, wouldn't it be great to have an A team or a double A team, some sort of affiliated team? And I go, yeah, maybe, but realize that those players that you're going to be watching on the field, they belong to one of the MLB franchises, and you'll be lucky if you see a single local Canadian kid on any one of those teams. And that's just the reality of how Major League Baseball works. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're recruiting worldwide. And so what you've done is you've kind of eliminated one of those, those steps, those phases of athlete development, in terms of, giving kids a place to showcase themselves in front of family and friends, and inspiration and perspiration kind of go hand in hand, and they're critically important in keeping kids involved in sport and inspiring them to stick with it. And, we've got a lot of kids like Eric Sabrowski and Kerwer. He's playing for the Vancouver Canadians now. Derek Shedden was a 5-year player with the Prospects. I mean, I could go on and on and on in terms of the local kids that grew up playing in the minor league systems, and I mean, they're tremendous role models for all these other 7, 8, 10, 12-year-old kids that are looking to do something with their sport. And in a lot of cases, the reality is that there's not many Eric Sabrowskis or Tanner Kerwers that actually get drafted and end up playing in some form of professional baseball. But there's a ton of kids that we keep sending off to college, and they're learning the ropes in terms of what it takes to be successful. They're learning it at the college level, and they're getting an education at the same time, and they're coming back to our communities, and they become some pretty darn good upstanding citizens and leaders in the community. So there's just so many win-wins here, any which way you look at it, that's why I guess I'm so passionate about it, and keep pushing and promoting the opportunities that are here in front of us.
When it comes to the deal, and going to the city. What's next? Do you sit down with the city to talk? Has there been any meetings that have been talked about yet? Or give the fans a bit of an idea as to sort of the timeline that might be ahead of you in the weeks and months ahead.
Well, we've said to the city in our press release that by on or before February 15th, we would have a more detailed proposal. And so, of course, we've started working on that, and I think we've got the kind of the bones of that put together already. But lo and behold, I got an email yesterday from the chief of staff of the mayor, and he wants to do a conference call next week and talk about the proposal. And so I guess we'll see where that goes. And we'll just we have a vision. We got a pretty clear plan of how we see this all coming together. And where it could end up, and I guess it's just a question of whether we can convince the city that these guys deserve this, and deserve an opportunity to prove this to us, and we're going to work with them, and that's kind of what we're hoping happens.
Mr. Cassidy, I do appreciate the time on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Keep up the good work there at AB Dugouts. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thanks so much to Pat for the kind words there. As for Calgary, we've talked about the future of Foothills Stadium before, and as some of us still refer to it as, Burns Stadium. With a desire for a field house, it's not necessarily a matter of if, more of when it has a date with the Wrecking Ball. Over the last couple of weeks, the City of Calgary's been talking about a field house steering committee, and one group, led by former mayoral candidate Bill Smith, has put together a proposed idea for the land north of McMahon Stadium. As is probably to be expected, there's no ball diamond in those plans. And while we don't have a timeline or anything along those lines, it does beg some fascinating questions down the line, such as what happens to the University of Calgary Dinos program and to other groups who utilize Foothills Stadium. Are there any plans in the works for a replacement? Anyone in the private sector looking to put a baseball facility in Calgary, similar to what's happening with soccer at Spruce Meadows as an example? Or has the City of Calgary given up the dream altogether and abdicated its baseball throne to Okotoks? Those are just some of the questions we here at Alberta Dugout Stories have been asking over the last few weeks, but there hasn't been anything conclusive to this point. When we do hear of anything, we'll definitely keep you in the loop. As we do get closer to the spring, we will talk a little bit more about the facilities in other centers like Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Fort McMurray, and elsewhere around the province. Certainly no shortage of stories to be told on that front, and so by all means, if you have a tip or a story idea, drop us a line by emailing albertadugoutstories@gmail.com, or you can look us up on social media. We will be back to our regular schedule again on Wednesday with another edition of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. Until then, do us a favor and drop us a rating and a review on Google Play or Apple Podcasts. Those kinds of things will help us with our overall visibility on each of the platforms. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll chat again in a few days.